Hello, welcome to Joy in Our Town. We have a great show for you today. Mr. Noble Crawford Jr. is with us. He is a director of services for Hope Farm. Hope Farm is an organization that helps at-risk boys without a father in the home to become Christ-centered men of integrity, which is an incredible outreach program that you have. And we're going to watch a little video before we get started today.
I have that one memory that day he walked out.
I'm not for sure where my dad is.
I have a father, but I never saw him before.
No, we don't see our dad a lot, but we see them one time.
Everybody's like, oh, my dad's a lawyer, my dad's a doctor, or my dad's in jail.
You need a father in your life to teach you things.
Boys without fathers tend to get into drugs more often, commit suicide more often, end up in prison more often, drop out of school more often. I mean, there's not a whole lot of good that comes out of a situation where a boy doesn't have a positive male role model.
My age, raising a 9-year-old, you know, it's kind of hard.
When we first come here, we gotta see Mr. Randall.
Camden Yard? What you got, man? I look at them and ask them, have they been in trouble? I ask them about how they're doing in school. Hard time following instructions. What was the matter with you, man? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever lied to me? Have you? So you understand why it's hard for me to believe you right now. You are too smart to be redirected. So you just settled for less today, didn't you? And it's important to me that they learn consequences, because a man that don't understand that there's consequences for their action is the most dangerous individual in the world. Breaking classmates' crayon and playing and not paying attention. Is that you? Is that you? You know you're in trouble.
That's what they need, that voice of a man. When we discipline him is different from when I discipline him and Mr. Randall disciplines him.
If he tells us we've had a bad day, then we know there's trouble coming already.
You have to take the consequences.
I don't like it, but it's the best for us because we learn.
We don't accept behavior that's mediocre. We want your best.
I want you to get E's at school, I want you to get E's here, and I want you to get E's at home.
Because he loves us and he wants us to do better, and he knows we're capable of doing better than that.
What an amazing ministry. I mean, it's hard to watch that and not just want to wrap your arms around those babies. You all are doing an amazing thing for their lives. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. Crawford, I would love for you to tell me your heart for the purpose and mission of Hope Farm in your words.
Well, the burden, let me say, was developed while I was in law enforcement. Seeing these young boys locked up in holding cells and looking at the statistics of how early they die when they're involved in criminal activity. So that's a burden that God put on my heart before I started doing Hope Farm full-time. And we wanted to do something about it. And we know that law enforcement is not rehabilitative. It's for public service. And so we wanted to do something about it. So that was the catalyst behind starting Hope Farm.
Wow. Talk to me about what the boys experience when they come to Hope Farm.
Well, when they first get there in the afternoon, and it's an after-school format.
Okay.
When they first get there in the afternoon, they get a little break because they've been in school all day. And then we start a rotation. They get tutoring, academic tutoring. They get a hot meal while they're there, get recreation while they're there. And some of the boys, not all of them, get piano lessons because we have a music program.
Wow.
And then on a couple of evenings a week, there are reading specialists to help them with their reading skills so that they can read at grade level, because so many of them do not read at grade level. And the elementary boys go home at 6 p.m., and the middle and high school boys are picked up at 7 p.m. So that's a brief description of what goes on in the afternoon.
You offer so much for them. It's very enriching, especially with the music. I think that's a wonderful element for them, to get tutored in school, but then also to have that element of the arts as an option for them. I think it's just a beautiful thing that you all are doing that for them. I love seeing the moms and the grandmothers in the video saying that they're glad that they have Mr. Randall. It's beautiful to see the community come together, and just that whole adage of it takes a village mentality there.
Right.
To see the hope in the moms' faces. So Hope Farms definitely is bringing them hope, and I think it's wonderful to see
And
that.
especially the grandmothers, because they've raised their own kids and now they're raising their grandkids.
Yeah, wow.
So they're just tired and they need help.
They do. They're strong, amazing women,
Right.
and it's awesome that you're there to help them. We have a little more for the audience to see, so take a look.
We try to instill in these boys is to try to teach them to be men. But not only men, to be godly men.
That's exactly what I want. And you got it, man. So I'm proud of you, Eli.
Thank you.
All right, bro. Way to go, big fella. You got it together. Love you, man.
Where they treat us like they're our father and we're their son.
The reality of that, little boys hearing that they're loved by a man is profound. Because these boys go to bed at night without having a father to tell them that they love them. Love you, man. You my boy, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Love you, man.
I want him to get married one day and have children and, have the type of life that he always wanted, where he's the dad and, sorry, I can't.
I want to be the man that's like there for my kids and like play the role that I didn't have in my life.
I want to be a godly man that has that treats their family right and treats their wife right.
Hearing a little boy say that he wants to grow up to be a godly man, I mean, that will do something to you. Help me to see what happens to these young men once they graduate from Hope Farms.
Well, we've had a few to go through the whole program, and once they graduate from high school, we help them get into college. The first one to actually go through the whole program and graduate, he's now married, lives in Atlanta, and he's a pastor of a church, and he works at a college there in Atlanta. So
that's amazing.
That's just an example of what the potential is.
Yeah.
We have one that's just signed up for Trinity University the other day in San Antonio. So he's graduating this year, and he's going to play football for Trinity University. So there are several stories like that I could tell of the destiny and the future of these guys. The script could have been totally different for them had they not been in the program.
You have changed their lives. You've changed their world. You've given them a different perspective. How does that fuel the mission and purpose of Hope Farm to see those success stories?
It's an incredible incentive when we see the result. It just drives us to keep doing what we're doing and to continue to increase our capacity. We're getting ready to build a new building on the west side of Fort Worth, which will give us more capacity to bring in younger boys. So as long as we have those 5 to 7 to 8, 9, 10-year-old guys coming, we're good. Because we know that a certain percentage of them is going to go out the door on the other end, and that trajectory will be changed.
Yes, changing lives. It's beautiful. And we want to see more of that. So take a look at this.
Hope Farm is located in the south side of Fort Worth in a pretty dangerous area. Hope Farm is surrounded by gangs, drug dealers, prostitutes, crack addicts, and the heroin addicts. This is what the boys face every day.
Well, some of the days out here shooting.
We want to work with the boys right in the face of everything that they deal with every day. And so we want to be able to help them to move past the tragedy and move on to triumph.
Then when I came here, like my behavior started to get better and better.
At school, I get better grades and I don't get in trouble.
I like myself better now because I don't get in as much trouble as I used to.
I actually skipped 2 grades. Like, I'm 13 and I'm in high school already, and that's not supposed to happen.
To cheer them on to something higher.
They get to attend activities that they probably would never be able to go to, you know, basketball games, football games.
We play basketball on the court, and sometimes we play football on the court. We did a project yesterday. It was fun.
Foosball, air hockey.
We get to do math in that room over there.
We're on a field trip.
But I like about Greta because she gives us good food. And I'm hungry right now.
Their joy is wonderful, and their smiles and their little voices, they're just beautiful, beautiful boys. Talk to us about the role of grandmother and single mom for these young men and how you're partnering with them.
Well, when they first come into the program, our biggest item for them is that you be a partner with us.
Yeah.
Because we cannot help you with your son by ourselves. It's not a drop-off program. It's a leadership program. And so we need the partnership of each caretaker, each mom, each grandmother, because if they step away from that process, then the chances of their son or grandson becoming successful, it goes down. And so their role is very important because they're still the legal authority in that child's life, and we have to recognize that. And we're not the head of the household, they're the head of the household. But we want to come alongside them to help them raise their sons.
I love that you partner with them and that you don't say, okay, just drop them off. We're going to raise your grandson, your son for you. We're here to help you.
Right.
Just as a mom, to know having extra help is such a blessing and such a relief some days to be able to go, I need to step back, I need some help. But these women don't have a husband to come home to say, I just need to go take a walk, you're in charge. So you all are providing so much more for their mental health, their spiritual health, and I'm sure they're incredibly grateful. So for all the moms out there and grandmas, thank you that you all provide that as well, you know. And to figure out all of that, to figure out all the important things that young men need to hear. You know, as women, we don't always know. So you really are bringing priceless information, just priceless love and in leadership to these young men. So thank you for what you're doing for the community, Mr. Crawford, and thank you to Hope Farm. Thank you all for watching us here at Joy in Our Town.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Sherry Duckworth, and joining me today is Mr. John Ramsey. He's Executive Director and CEO for Tarrant County Hands of Hope. They assist the unsheltered homeless and provide their basic necessities. They do an amazing job, and we have a video for you to watch, so take a look.
I'm Don Ramsey, the founder of Tarrant County Hands of Hope. We're an outreach ministry for the homeless. We target the unsheltered homeless of Tarrant and surrounding counties. We actually started by accident. We had moved back from Florida and attended a small meal at a small inner cities church that several homeless that were attending the meal, and took a lot of pictures that day. And whenever we went home, got to blowing the pictures up and looking really close at how the homeless were dressed, and discovered that one of the women that were there was walking on the heels of her shoes. And whenever we looked closer at the picture, we realized she's walking on the heels of her shoes because the shoes were too small for her feet. And that was really the initial spark, I guess, that started it with us.
How do you go about finding these camps and where the people are?
From word of mouth, either from one of the other homeless on the street, one of the clients that we deal with will share with us and tell us an idea where someone's at. And then we'll look, try to identify if there's any wooded areas there or any hard to access bridge there that we may be able to find a trail in. And at that point, I'll go to Google Earth. And that's been a kind of a fun tool for us, because if we discover in a patch of green, if you see a little patch of blue in there, there's a strong possibility that that is a tarp of some type. And then we look for trails leading into it, and then we'll go and see if they're there.
It's really interesting how you said that it started by accident, that Hands of Hope began as an accident. So talk to me a little bit more, if you don't mind, about the beginnings of the ministry.
Sure. Well, initially we had just attended a meal, and we saw one lady in need and wanted to help her. And whenever I went to social media with it and just put a photo of her feet where the shoes didn't fit, and just asked for a pair of shoes. And we were given several boxes of clothing and shoes. And initially, that's how it started. We went back to just to provide for her, but we ended up helping others that were there.
I'm always fascinated to see how people see the need and they feel this pull to do something. And it's, they say it's an accident, but God always provides for that need when someone sees it. And it's just neat to watch that process take place.
Oh,
so I always love to hear, so talk to me about how this started, because just those beginnings are so hope-filled,
Right. Well, and it was some of the conversations that we had with the guys were, I was amazed at what they had to go through just to survive, just daily, because I could not relate to not having a house and actually having to live on the street. Yeah. And whenever we met some of these guys that lived into the campsites and you were talking to them about daily survival, one of the other questions I asked, I said, realistically, what is something I can bring you tomorrow? If I came up here, I know you need everything, but what is something realistically I can bring for you?
Yeah.
And I had one of the guys tell me, if I had a roll of toilet paper, I wouldn't have to steal it. And wow. I thought, what a basic necessity.
Yeah, it is a basic necessity. And I think it's interesting, too, that you're finding these unsheltered homeless in these green areas. Mm-hmm. Because I know for me, when I think of the homeless, I think of the urban homeless, right. in the cities. So when you talk about going to a green area and looking for a tarp and people are living out there, I mean, as we drive past those areas, hopefully our viewers, too, will consider a little differently that there could be a soul out there who's just trying to survive.
That's exactly right. And what we found, one of the reasons we targeted that segment specifically, is those are the guys that have either tried something in the past, and I'm talking in general because every case is individual, of course,
sure.
as we are, and they've either tried it and it didn't work for them and they've just given up, or they're not aware that services are available. And so they have moved off. Some of them are partially employed. But it's just they're having a problem making that connection, and that's where we come in and attempt to help them make that. We go back to root cause. What put you on the street? And whenever we go back, a lot of times it's, well, I lost my house, lost my car, lost my job, and we'll stop and we'll say, well, on your job specifically, what was the reason? And a lot of times it was because of an addiction. Well, if they hadn't dealt with the addiction then, they probably have not dealt with it now. And then we help them make the connection in dealing with that addiction through like a detox program. And then all along the way, we're sharing Christ's love with them.
Of course. And that's what makes all the difference.
Sure.
Absolutely. Talk to me about an unsheltered person's daily life? Like, just give me a quick idea of what they're facing. It's hard to put my mind around that.
Well, and some of the most basic necessities is from the time they get up is securing, because where we will do our plan to cover a week, a month, a year, 5-year, 10-year plan, a lot of times their plans consist of where is that next meal coming from, what is, it is very much in front of them. They're trying to get through that day. Water is a big necessity of theirs, and that was something, especially a remote campsite, to think about the distance that they're carrying water. So that's one of the reasons that we carry water with us everywhere that we go. We'll keep water. So
yeah, there's just something that feels so wrong about that in our modern day and age, to think that there are people living out there on the land and they don't have access to water, and we could be driving right past them today.
Sure.
So that just, gosh, it just makes my mind just go crazy with the thought of somebody living that way.
And we try to do that. There's an area there where we want to help them, but we don't want to. I'll tell them, like, whenever we provide water for them, I'll say, if we want to help make that permanent connection for them, because we don't want to become that provider to enable them to stay there.
Absolutely. Let's watch a little more of your story.
Okay.
I've been in this little valley for going on 8 or 9 years, something like that.
So how long have you known John and Hands of
Going
Hope?
on 3 years now, I think. Something like that, yeah. And they've been good people. They pointed me in the right direction on a number of issues. They help out and bring water down and bug spray and cat food and and everything helps. It always helps.
And how did you meet John and Hands of Hope Ministry?
John, now you're gonna have to remember that. You just walking through, right? Yeah, okay.
And then we met you the second time in the kitchen.
Right,
and
beautiful
we met you back out here.
I would say it's a difficult life, but the best thing, like I was telling John earlier, I guess, God has got a path for everybody's life, and he'll send us through situations like this to let us learn and become better and have more faith in him.
Gateway is our church. You guys have been, we've been involved with us since early on. We wouldn't be able to get to some of the areas that we go to without the vehicle that Gateway Global has actually provided for us. Gateway's been a very, very big part of what we do, and we love our church.
This is my year to get out of here, so yeah. So, but we just keep plugging away at it.
Wow, I love how you give credit to your local church, because the local church it can really make a difference and do amazing things.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's fantastic, number one. But to see these folks and to see the joy on their faces and the gratitude, golly, it's like, where do you sign up, right? To help them, because you're making such a difference in their life. So we're talking about running water. We're talking about providing for their basic needs. How do you get supplies to them, and how do they get in reach with you, once you've made that initial contact? How can you keep up with them and they can keep up with you?
Well, a lot of it everything we do is about building a relationship with them. And so a good number, the majority, have a cell phone of some type that we provide them with our number, and then we do follow-up visits coming back out to them. And there are agencies and organizations that we're partnered with that, depending on what their need is, we can actually take them to the campsite. For example, Veteran Affairs. If we come across a veteran, we have a Veteran Affairs that rides out with us every Tuesday. She's with us every week.
Yeah.
And so we're able to make that direct connection with them. Of course, the water and everything that we hand out is usually brought in off of donations. We asked for water. We had our church had a men's summit and provided 7 pallets of water for us.
Oh,
and
that's
so
great.
it was amazing.
Yes.
But we're able to, we literally carry it to them whenever, we always have it with us when we're out. The difference is if they don't need it, I won't leave it. And because we don't want to over provide for them, we would rather help them get connected with a program that it meets that root cause of whatever it is that put them on the street. We want to get them connected and help them leave the street. And so I feel like if we over provide for them while they're out there, then at that point we're making a mistake in enabling them to remain where they're at. So there's a real balance there that we have to evaluate when we go into the campsites.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful that you say, you're going to go towards the root cause. You're going to adjust. You're going to fix. You're going to help give tools for the root cause of why they're even there. So just providing basic necessities up to the point that they need it,
Right.
but not being their source.
Right.
And I think that'll preach all on its own when you think
Oh,
about it, It's like, where's our true
Yeah.
source, right? But I think that's really great that you do provide for those basic needs. So you do have that initial connection and they know you care, that
Right.
you even care. Talk to me a little bit more about the supplies, because you talked about bug spray. I was just thinking, oh my gosh, Texas mosquitoes. They're
Right,
out there
right.
in the open in the crazy, weather and all of that. So where do all the supplies come from? You talked about, you get those donated to you. So if someone's watching today and they're like, I want to give bug spray, I want to give water, how
Right.
do they know to get into contact with you?
They can contact us through the website or email or on any of the social media. We put a lot of photos out on our social media, but it's more from a standpoint of I want you to realize you can help right here in your backyard.
Yeah.
I know there's needs worldwide, and your ministry, this ministry deals with the worldwide, but I want to show that there are needs right here in our backyard, and those are the guys that we're going after.
Yeah, they're literally in our backyard.
Yeah.
They are back there and they're trying to survive and just live day to day. And like you said, they have a root cause of the reason why they're there.
Right.
And then some of them, like you said, it was just a paycheck or they just lost a job and then they couldn't pay their rent anymore. Now they're just trying to live a day at a time. Gosh, it just wrecks my heart to think that our fellow human is out there living that way. So we have to do something. And I'm glad that you all have access, obviously, through social media for people to know what the needs are. So, everything that we would need to live off of, food, clothes, supplies of any kind. So thank you all for what you're doing for those unsheltered homeless out there. Thank you for what you're doing for their souls.
We're blessed.
Thank you all today for watching us here at Joy in Our Town.